Hi, everyone. We're Gladius. I'm Alex.
I'm Marcelo.
And I'm Max. And our goal as a company is to decrease website load times and make them resilient against DDoS attacks, all while using the Ethereum blockchain. Yeah. So as it stands now, there are billions of computers across the world, but most of them go unused for huge portions of the day. So let's say you go to work for 8 hours and you sleep for 8 hours. That's 16 hours a day that these computers with bandwidth they're paying for go unused. So if there was some way to utilize this unused bandwidth and allow people to get paid for what they've already been paying for, that would be very powerful. And that's essentially what we're doing at Gladius. On a separate side of things, some of you might be familiar with DDoS attacks, but essentially what they are cyber attacks against websites, where hackers can overload websites with thousands of requests every second and essentially take down a website in a matter of seconds. And these attacks are very devastating to many companies and websites. So for example, in 2011, Sony was hit with a massive DDoS attack that left their servers and the websites unavailable for multiple days. And then after that happened, researchers looked back on the attack, and they found that there were a total of about $150 billion worth of damages. So that includes stopped website times, as well as the PR related activities needed to recoup that issue. Additionally, January this year, a bit more recent example, ESEA, which is a very large online esports gaming platform, was also hit by a DDoS attack. And that left all the game servers down for a few hours, about maybe a day. But the results from the community and how they reacted was pretty staggering. They lost consumer trust, and still to this day, people have decided to migrate to other services because of that one attack.
So a study done by Encapsula in 2016 estimates that about $150 billion were lost due to DDoS attacks. And that's an average about $500,000 per attack, and about 300,000 attacks in 2016. So this is actually a huge issue for websites. So if you're a website with, let's say, medium to large traffic, you can expect to pay about $5,000 or more per month, which is just outrageous. And while you're paying that money per month, usually a DDoS attack, if it even occurs that month, only lasts a couple of hours, so on average about 6 hours. So what you're really paying for is this DDoS insurance and not actual protection.
Sure. So the problem here is they're really common. Move away from that a bit. DDoS attacks are really common, and current providers overcharge a lot. So, like Marcelo said earlier, Cloudflare, their enterprise pricing starts at $5,000 a month and up, and that's just the service fee every month. So rate limiting and things like that go even more on top of that, and so that's a pretty excessive amount to charge for, the insurance. And then so pretty much every website has the desire to load faster, and so Cloudflare implements a CDN. Akamai is primarily a CDN, so that stands for Content Distribution Network, which means you move your content around the world and try to make it closer to the website people, or to the people requesting access to your website, so they can get faster delivery. And then finally, there's this huge amount of unused bandwidth in the world. It's a sunk cost for almost everyone. People pay for their bandwidth every month, they pay for their computer hardware, and they don't really have any way to recoup that cost. And so we saw this really cool opportunity that allows anyone to actually start to lower their overall cost every month. And so that's our solution, meet Gladius. And so, yeah, as we were saying, it's sort of pay for protection. You're paying as you go. You're paying people directly in a marketplace, and everyone's competing with everyone else. So we can actually offer really low prices compared to traditional services. And so, yeah, we let anyone actually contribute to that marketplace. Yeah, and as I was saying, there's a lot of, basically, by doing this, if we go by industry rates, we can say that if you say about 5 cents a gig, people could actually sell a 100 megabit connection and earn about $10 a day using Gladius as a service and on pretty much any hardware. So our goal is to actually be a cross-platform on both Linux, Mac, and Windows. And you download the Node software, which we'll see in the next couple slides. So we'll have an online portal which is where the websites will actually interact. And so when you are trying to clients interact, so when you're trying to purchase protection, you'll be able to view a marketplace of all these different pools of users, and you'll be able to actually purchase directly from them. There's a cross-platform desktop application that will be able to actually interact and let you join a pool and rent out your bandwidth. And one of the main features is pay-as-you-go, and it's all on the Gladius token. And so this is what the Node client looks like. You download this. It's a backend. It's a service that runs on your computer, and this is essentially an interface to that allows you to interact with it real time and be able to actually join and request pools. And so sort of the cycle here is you rent your bandwidth, you earn the Gladius tokens, and you can actually sell that back to websites. So we create this sort of circular economy that allows people to earn money from their bandwidth at the same time while using the Gladius token. It's a little blurry here, but this is the sort of thing that you'd see as a website operator. So you'd actually be able to see your content distribution network. You'd be able to see real-time statistics and data about that. Move away from that a bit more. And you'll be able to be able to view a map where bandwidth is coming from, or where traffic is coming from, much like traditional services that exist today.
Yeah, so now I'm just going to quickly compare and contrast how our solution compares with existing solutions. So on the similarity side of things, we're actually quite similar to something like Cloudflare or Akamai, which are industry standards. The setup process is pretty much identical. Even though that we're using cryptocurrency in the back end, setting up our services is as simple as changing some fields on a website. So if you have an IT team who's experienced with this, it's no different and they don't have to learn anything new. And then we provide all the same features that current providers do as well. So all of the traffic analytics, all of the advanced network security solutions, they all come with Gladius. But because we use the blockchain as the core behind our network, there's a few distinct benefits that really put us ahead of these other companies. So first off, if you have a big website that gets a lot of traffic with some of the shadier individuals in the world and get hit by DDoS attacks, there's a chance that companies will just drop you. Companies are paying for all this hardware, and so they kind of want to ensure that the levels of DDoS attacks are kept to a low. So if you're getting hit by like 500 gigabytes a second every month or something, there's a good chance that you'll be dropped. But because we're taking the middleman away from this entire industry, that is not even possible with the Gladius platform. Additionally, since anyone can be a node in the network, our CDN is much faster than any others that currently exist. So potentially, your next door neighbor could be hosting static content from a website. And so instead of having to get information all across the world, you would simply get the information from across the street, which saves countless hours in total. And then, as previously mentioned, there is no subscription costs. It's pay-as-you-go solution, so it allows companies to pay for exactly what they need and not a penny more. So it really optimizes how much a company or website is actually spending. And current solutions to DDoS mitigation have centralized servers across the world. So if one of them is hit by a DDoS attack, there's a good chance that all of the sites underneath that server will just go down. With Gladius, if one of our pools gets hit, there's still hundreds of other pools possibly that have the same content hosted. So by distributing the network a lot, there is no singular point of failure, so it's much safer. Yeah, so a few comparisons with statistics. Our service allows websites to load 100 or 300 to 1,000 times faster than no CDN whatsoever. So Cloudflare and Akamai are about the same, but because we're much closer, our numbers are a bit larger than theirs. And then we can get between 80 to 95% cheaper than current providers because pools are able to set their own prices, and those prices don't include insane profit markups that current companies add in. And then finally, you can use any hardware. So if you want to run out your bandwidth, you don't need a crazy mining rig with lots of GPU power. If you have a laptop, you could hook up the Gladius client and start renting your bandwidth that way. If you have a Raspberry Pi, you could do it through that as well. So it really opens up the possibility of mining potential, in a sense.
Yeah, sure. So one of the cool things that we're striving for is everything's going to be open source. So all the code that we ever write is going to be open source and available to the community. So our philosophy there is that the more eyes on the product, the better it is, both in security and in features. So anyone can create a protection pool. So we're going to have an interface for that, and someone can create a pool, and that's just it's the instantiation of a smart contract. And what that allows them to do is they can join the marketplace by depositing a fee of Gladius tokens to show that they have a stake in the ecosystem, and then they can start actually acquiring nodes and building a service. And then, obviously, we have content acceleration and DDoS protection. And so right now, that's implemented with some Varnish and Nginx as some basic firewall rules. But as we progress more in the development cycle, we'll be building custom software for that.
So where is Gladius right now? Right now, we have about a 30-person team, who about 75% working either full-time or on a contract basis. We have onboarded already several industry experts from companies such as Acribi and large DDoS, large current DDoS providers. So we have each with 20 plus years of experience. And then lastly, we have an international team. So the 30-person team is international. We have branches in Israel, Mexico, and the Netherlands, and the main team is based out of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I got it. So a few milestones we recently hit. About a month ago, we released our alpha. So right now, anyone can go onto our GitHub and download what we currently have. So this allows people to protect their own websites and create their own localized pools. So our technology is already working, and it's just a matter of building on top of that and getting some developers with a lot of security experience to build up the product. Before that, we received some initial seed funding to get us to where we are now. So we've had support along the way from a few established VC funds and angel investors. And then finally, we have a lot of established partnerships currently. So that includes partnerships with websites who've already committed to saying, yes, we will use the Gladius platform. So there's about 3 or 4 large sites, mainly crypto related, but we're working on others who have committed to using the platform. And we're also working with some token experts such as Wings.ai, and they're helping us. They helped us design the token sale to make the most sense for both investors and ourselves as a growing company. Yeah. So currently the token sale is in the pre-sale phase, and that is private and invite-only basis right now, and that goes on until November 23rd. The public pre-sale begins November 24th and lasts until December 30th. So this is the chance for individuals to pre-register and get their money locked in with the tokens. And then finally, the actual public sale begins January 14th and lasts 4 weeks.
Also, all bonuses over the public sale amount are vested for a period of a few months.
Yeah, so we do have some vesting periods and schedules in place to ensure that there are no pump and dumps and that any token purchaser is treated equally. And then, again, 60% of the tokens that we create are going to one of these sales, or all of the sales in total. Yep, so thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, I think we have some time to answer them. You can find us at gladius.io, that's our website. So we have a bunch of different cool media publications you can check out. We're at gladius.io on Twitter, Facebook, and Telegram. We have some pretty large communities with upwards of 3,000 people actively collaborating with us. And then there's our email as well for any email-based inquiries. Thanks.
have any questions? Sure. Okay. So actually, we don't think they'll have anything against this because one thing that ISPs probably hate is their traffic carriers. So when traffic leaves their ISP, they actually have to pay for it to go to a different place. And so by running multiple Gladius nodes in their network, they actually have less traffic leaving the network and overall the same amount of traffic that would normally be there. So the goal would be to have a few nodes in every ISP so we could actually limit cross-ISP traffic, which is actually a benefit for most ISPs.
So, how many computers does someone need to have, or how much bandwidth power do they need to have a very effective DDoS attack on a website to actually take it down, affect its business operations? You know, kind of just describing the problem in a larger context. Sure.
So if you're a website and you have no protection, a couple gigabits will probably take your site offline and no one will be able to access it. Which is, it's not too hard to get a couple computers together to DDoS a site like that. You don't really need much in the way of resources. It's only going to cost you a couple dollars. So DDoS protection is pretty much a must for the industry because, if your whole business is on the internet and someone can take down your site pretty much indefinitely, you've got some problems there. So, for just a few dollars. Any other questions?
Cool. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask questions afterwards, we'll be around.